Purpose, and I have Monica here with me today, who will do a little introduction on herself, and then we'll dive right in.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. So excited to be here on Messy on Purpose. And hello to the whole audience. I'm Monica Bermudez. I am a Quantum Purpose Activator. So I work a lot with the cosmic energies and channeling, channeling light language and so forth. So I help get into like people's patterns that are just toxic in the subconscious level and a little messy.
It's very messy.
Yes.
So let's start with what got you to the point of doing that type of coaching.
So for me, it was what really triggered it was a big catalyst was the divorce. And so it helped me like really reevaluate a lot of things. I started reevaluating my life through my relationships. Actually, that was the first phase, where I started. And that's as I started to peel away certain patterns, I started to hear these inner intuitive messages about like this whole new like path going public and helping others, go through their own like awakening and their own pattern, like dissolving and alchemizing and all these things, and which wasn't the thing that I was intending to do like publicly or as a business. Because like for me, I study like degrees. I have a degree in electrical engineering, so my
Big
work
difference.
yeah, my work's always been in that field, it's like in the corporate world. And so when I was getting that guidance, it's like, well, I'm not a Reiki practitioner. I never really felt drawn to like really learn any of that. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just like it wasn't something that I was planning to do publicly. Now, I'm no stranger to like things of mysticism, of metaphysics, and all these other stuff because I was doing that behind the scenes. I was like studying it, in my own way. But I wasn't doing it like in public. It was more like private, type thing for me, like behind the scenes. So being like a closet mystic, right? And so I was okay doing it that way. I didn't really care to be out in the spotlight or talking to people or like reaching out to people and be like, hey, do you need help with your like patterns and all this other stuff? So that's when things started to get like a little bit like messy, like it's like, I don't understand, what's going on here. There has to be like something wrong with this guidance or this information that I'm getting. So I was getting into these whole doubts, right, about things, the messages that I was getting. It's like, there's no way I'm getting this message because, the guidance was saying stuff like, it's so like, it's your own modalities, your own like way of doing it that's unique to you. And so there were some codes there that I, had signed up through my soul contract that, that was the time for me to like do it. So in a way, the divorce, was that catalyst point of like something new to emerge out of my soul. And had I not been like doing my inner work or the shadow work within, then, wouldn't have like uncovered and unraveled this other piece of the puzzle, like inside my own remembrance of the soul. So, in a way, this is what happens with so many of us, right? Because I do serve, as a spiritual teacher in this way from my own experience, and the things that I'm going through as well with all the changes going on in the world right now. But yeah, that's how things started, for me. And originally, since I was really doubting myself and doubting my own guidance, I went to someone who had been like in the field of like doing this publicly for a long time, like doing light language channeling, which was so uncommon when she was doing it. It was so like considered so woo, right? Is the word. But now I don't really like care to use that term because there's so much scientific evidence coming out now that's showing that the things that many people have been talking about, like meditation, is a real thing and is really doing stuff to your energy. And but when I went to this other person at the time, she said exactly like she knew nothing about me, and she said exactly what my guidance was telling me. So I was like, okay, well, that's validation enough. So now you have my attention. So now I just talk to my own guidance as my own like divine executive team. Yeah.
So, what does your coaching look like?
For me, it's like really about the empowerment of others. So really like helping others to really tap into their own energy field, to their own remembrance, using the light language channeling to assist with that. So letting the energy do its work and go into like a much deeper dive into their subconscious areas that they're probably not so aware of, where it does clear up a lot of the DNA aspect of like what's encoded. It's like we're programmed, it's like, it's a software for our body, like in a DNA level where we've been programmed subconsciously, where there's been like sabotaging patterns getting in the way of like keeping us in lack or keeping us in doubt, keeping us, afraid of things. And this is just like the energy of just pretty much unraveling that code or reprogramming it so that it can like start to alchemize and shift into like its own new programming. So it's more like a co-creation space with the other, right? To also like, as things are being cleared up, that is also assisting them to also reprogram themselves with their own vows, new stories, and dissolving some of those trauma energies that have been getting in the way of like wanting to serve your purpose in a different way in your mission. And also like just have like a well-being, like in general, just have a healthy life, just like a good relationship with someone else as well. In some of the sessions that I've had with some of the clients, has been a lot of emphasis on the heart because it's the key to so many things. It's more multidimensional than we think. It's not just a romantic heart. And even like scientists are starting to discover a lot more about the heart's electromagnetic energy and how it connects to so many others. And so every time when I was like working with clients, and helping them, like I've assisted some people who have been like married and feel like they're still disconnected, like they feel like they can't really open up to like love, because they feel like there's a wall, like something is like shielding it, and they can't explain why. It's not that their relationship is bad in any way, and so they feel like there is something there that's just kind of like tapping into this wall. They can't really expand and open their heart. And so in those instances, I've helped so many of them just really expand their heart into a big way where they can actually feel like reconnected in their own body. So I do bring in a lot of these unique encodements with that. And it's helped, really like enhance the relationship that they're in.
What are some specific common tools that you use when you're coaching somebody? So somebody signs up with coaching with you, like, where do you dial in what the issues are? And then like, what are some tools you use for different situations?
Yeah, so for that, like, it's more about the energy doing the work. So a lot of my coaching is really just assisting them with what the energy is doing with them. In most cases, though, what I do practice a lot of journaling and also like assisting them to develop their own declaration and their own proclamation that is unique to themselves and to really reprogram themselves in that way. So in each case, though, every individual is going to be very different in each of those private sessions to whatever it is that they're asking for. Like, for instance, like if they're asking for, like, they're feeling there's sorrow, then I want to, like, focus, like, on what it is that, they're, where this is stemming from. This could be stemming from an experience in this current lifetime where that may have started. And so the energy really does go in deep into like those roots. And so I ask, assistance for some of the loving and light guides to come in, like the Archangel Metatron or Archangel Michael, to also like usher in and help with that directly, or, just help me assist with bringing in like a cosmic master, or someone of love and light to come and assist in those sessions. So, yeah, so I mean, some of the basic tools, right, are, that have helped are like journaling as well, like doing automatic writing, and giving them like love assignments as well, from that. So like really assisting them in understanding what the energy is doing within their body and what they're feeling as well. Because in most cases, when I do channel the light language transmission, people will say that they feel like something, or some of their ability will come to life, like telepathy in some of those cases. And so I help guide them to like, understanding what's coming up for them. So that's really where I come in with some of that coaching. It's more like an energy coaching type thing.
And how does that different? So how does the energy coaching differ from like regular therapy? Because you do have journaling and stuff like that when you go see a therapist. So how do those two differ?
Well, in therapy, it takes like years to really like, draw out exactly what it is that's coming up. Whereas with these transmissions, they're actually sound vibrations. They're actually like different frequencies that are shifting you at a very quantum rate, a very fast rate speed. So we don't really have to talk much, you see. I only talk during the beginning of a session just to kind of get an idea where it is that they want to tap in. But the rest of the session is mostly in energy. So the energy is really doing its work on the individual. And so then from there, it's whatever they're feeling, after the transmission, we get into this conversation as to what it is that they're feeling. If they're feeling like, it's a bit too intense, then I'll try to bring in a transmission that's a little more gentle, for them to be alchemizing and transmuting. And so with therapy, you don't really have like the sound and vibration and frequency. It's just all just talk, right? In most cases, talking for the entire session for an hour. And so for this, it's just really working more with the energy than anything. And so just taking those few minutes, out for them to like give me an idea what it is that they want to do the work and the transmission and the energy and where they want to focus the energy as well. And then from there, the energy does this work. I had somebody actually, like a client a long time ago, who does therapy. And so she came to me because she really was feeling like her heart would not like open. And so I started working with a lot of the encodements in her heart to really just reassemble it, I would say, because I'm kind of like a chakra repair as well, like a mechanic, for cars. And so after like we were done with, these sessions, she felt like so much more like different and livelier. She didn't feel as closed as she did before, and it was just like a few sessions, doing that. And she said to me like after, she's like, this is like 10 times better than it would be for a therapy. For like therapy would take like years and years to do. But in this space, this sacred space, these energy transmissions is working at a much more accelerated level. What could take many years could probably take 2 to 3 months or something like that.
Is this similar to like breath work?
No, not really. Have you ever heard of light language? I'm just curious. Okay. So let's start with that. So light language is, like the languages of light, is a transmission that I get into this like bit of a trance channel. And so what comes out are these sounds of frequency and vibration. They're actually like activating. In my case, they're very activating of the light body. Many different aspects of ourselves are multidimensional because our DNA is multidimensional. So there's actually a lot of different layers of our DNA that is called, or was called, junk DNA, but now the scientists are starting to discover that it's not the case. And so that junk DNA is actually the part that is being like reawakened or reactivated or triggered, in other words, to come to life. And so when that is happening is that whatever, it's like DNA is actually like a mini computer, if you think about it. It's like a little software program that goes around it as well. So sometimes, that's why when it comes to light language, it helps repair that, where that damage was, where that program. So it kind of reprograms it in a different way. And how it works is really like a catalyst. It's not that it's putting anything in you. It's really just catalyzing what you already have, what you already are, you see. And so for people who channel, light language is a very different, comes in different tones and different aspects of our soul. Is like the language of our soul, I would say. And so in a way, I feel like in the future, this is going to be like a common thing for so many people to like actually either speak it or write it, because there's also a writing form as well. And even in some art, like if you look at sacred geometry has like a form of light language, but it's an art. I don't know if you've ever seen the sacred geometry.
No.
If you look at, some of these, like, they almost look like mandalas, but except that they have like all these different shapes, and they move around in their own different ways. So they kind of reconfigure and shift and change and all this, and these really beautiful patterns, right? If you ever see like Emoto Masuro, the scientist who did research on water, have you heard of him? He did like research on water, like this was many years, where he was doing a before and after, right? The water that was like considered to be like, say, dirty, he would like look at it from a scope, very microscope, and it would see like it would be deformed, aspects of it. And then when, say for instance, if he would start praying over the water, that same water, and they would do a lot of prayers on it, they would do a comparison and see how it looked under that same, device that they were using to look at the very small molecule of it, right? And they saw these patterns that looked really beautiful, like these crystalline, sacred geometrical patterns to them, like these shapes, the shape forms. And so what they were finding is that the vibration, the frequency, whether that be prayer, right? Because prayer has its own vibration, its own frequency, is that it does change the molecules within you, because we are made mostly of water. So that was the point of his experiments. And so in this case, when you have like different sounds and frequencies that people, when they channel them in their own way, like if they're doing it in a way of an activation, it does really impact, a lot of our body and our structure. So a lot of this is coming to be like mostly common, whereas like 10 years ago when I first started listening to this, to me it just sounded like gibberish, and it was just like, no, it wasn't a common thing, but when I really started to feel it for myself, it's like I really do feel this change in my body, because I was willing to try anything to really shift me out of these patterns that I knew I had, throughout the marriage. And when I had the divorce, I really wanted to make an emphasis to shift it out of me. And if light language was going to help with that, then I was willing to do it, and it did, because it really helped really accelerate, my life path in a different way. I think what took me a while to really step into like a business was because I was like getting in the way and just doubting, what I was supposed to do and how I was supposed to do it, or how is this going to look, so questioning like too much of that. And so that in a way was just getting in the way of what, I was really intending to do to like help and be more of a service. But yeah, so I don't know if that answered your question. That was like a long question. Long answer for that.
Kind of. We'll say kind of, because
Yeah.
I don't fully understand it. But how long have you been doing this type of coaching?
I would say for like 5 years now. Yeah.
And is it all in person, since it's like energies?
No, it doesn't have to be in person. I've done it via Zoom. People still feel it. So
How does that work?
A Zoom?
Yeah.
Well, like it could
different
be like
from being in person, like, because you said it's about the environment, but like you're in two different environments. So how does that work?
Well, this energy can travel like anywhere, like through remote, and so yeah, so like I do it in person too, for those who are in person and willing to do it. But for the most part, I work with a lot of different clients all over like the world. So for me, it's been like virtual, via Zoom. So yeah, just transmissions, just like sitting here with you right now, talking to you, and then getting into the transmission of it, but yeah.
Interesting. So what did you do before? You said you were an engineer before?
Well, that's my background degree is electrical engineering.
Okay.
Yes.
And then what were you doing? Like, what was your job before you got into the coaching?
Well, it's into like project management, systems engineering. Um, so yeah, it's interesting because my background is like electrical engineering, but I also have a degree in business. And so for me, that's why when I talk about vibrational and frequency and the science part of it, it's because I've studied that. It's just that I'm blending it, you see, and I
Yeah,
understand
it
what the
makes
energy is
sense
doing. Yeah.
why you compare things the way you compare them.
Yes, so that's why like I understand what the energy is doing, what's really going on with the world and why we're shifting at such a fast rate and why we all feel like all these different symptoms of energy like because when the frequency is moving super fast, and that's what it is, frequency is moving at a pulsating like rhythm of its own. And when it's moving at a very fast pulsating rate, it just really changes our whole physical body because we are all energy. And mostly, a lot of the electromagnetic energy that we are as well. So that's why for me, like, it makes sense in that way. But I try to explain it, to others that so it doesn't sound, too complex. So I try to simplify it, in a better explanation. What there's a movie that's called The Secret. This came out back in like 2000, but that's where they first talked about the water experiments and all that. So I would recommend to anybody listening to this, to go and watch that. Because this was like a very big revolutionary movie that came out during that time because nobody was talking about any of this stuff.
Is that where it started for you, was watching that?
No, I have always studied like mysticism behind the scenes. I just never really cared to share with anybody, like, what I was like studying or
So
what I was
you've been
learning.
doing this
So,
for 5 years. So you started around 2020, like when
as a
kind of the
business, yeah.
world went crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. It's funny because right when the first thing that I launched, actually, my mentor, because I hired a mentor to help me with organizing myself as a business, for this kind of field. And as soon as I launched my Facebook group, that's when COVID hit. And so it was like the timing of things, right? I feel like there's a reason for timing and in the things that, happen. Like I would call it divine timing, synchronicity, because at that point, like everybody was pretty much shut down, so a lot of the stuff that I could do is this I could do via like virtual. I didn't really have to be there in person. I don't have to like touch someone to like do like Reiki does have to put their hands on people. I think that's the way their modality works, but for me it's like a very different way. It's a transmission that can go through like a virtual Zoom. I don't have to like put my hands on someone to do that. Yeah.
So it worked out well. It was a good
Yeah.
segue.
Yeah, because it helped me to like launch it in a way and just get myself, started in that way and connecting with people online because mostly everybody was online at that point, uh, wondering what to
What were
do.
some of the struggles that you had running the business? Not even necessarily about the coaching itself, running the business. There's a lot that plays into it. The marketing alone. What were kind of some of your struggles and some of the things that you overcame?
Yeah, so for me it was trying to explain in simple terms without sounding, too scientific or too like spiritual. So just pretty much bringing it together and simplifying it for people to understand and getting the message across, to what it is that people were looking for and support. I think that's common for so many people who are launching their own business, right? Is trying to understand what they're um, what they're looking for to help service, someone else, like to get the results, that they're looking for. Um, I forget what they call that term. I'm sure there's a term for it. Like where they have like, the pain points and then you get the outcome and the results and people's like trying to figure out like, well, how do I like communicate this, in a different way? And so for me it was like much more like unique because of the transmissions that I'm doing. So it was really trying to narrow down exactly what the service is.
Was it a lot of trial and error on like marketing, like on what you
Yeah.
would
I
share?
mean, yeah, I think that always goes on, but in time I just learned to just evolve and adapt to it and just say that this is really what I'm going to stick to this title, and just go with it. And later on, because at first, actually, when I first started, it was more like just focused on helping people's relationship and all that. But in my heart, though, I was really feeling that it was much more than that. So now it's like I'm focused more like on people's purpose, because everybody has a purpose. So it's not really about finding a purpose, but it's really just like embodying your soul and your essence of who you really are. So just being you already are your purpose, you see? And so that's kind of for me like more just being this empowerment speaker, to really help people just be independent to their own intuition and their own channeling, because everybody has the ability to do that. So, and don't want people to get dependent on like say the guru way of doing it. That was the old way, where you would follow a guru. And I feel like in a way we have our own inner guru inside of us. So that's really where I come in as an empowerment. So I've been like I redefined myself and reinvented myself in that way, because of the way the energies were changing and the things that were changing. And I think as a healer of any kind of modality, there is kind of like this whole reinvention that we kind of go through, you know, in our business. So you kind of have to always be in this creative mode, creating something different, something fun, for others. I mean, would you say that's the case?
I mean, in a sense, yes. So
Mm-hmm.
you do have to have new, and it really depends on what you're doing, though, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
a good product doesn't always need to change,
Yeah.
but people do like new and fun and different. So I think it's
Yeah.
situational when it
Yeah.
comes to the business. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like for products, for sure, right? For services, no, that might be like a different way, like of a
It's
different like.
always improving, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
like, I don't necessarily think with a service it needs to be exciting. It just needs to give the right results.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
And sometimes it's how we advertise it, right?
Yes.
So you have to advertise it to where it sticks out to somebody that they
Well,
want that
exciting for me
service.
though. The
Yeah.
advertisement is the excitement and the passion behind it.
So it's not
Um,
necessarily changing what you do, it's just changing
mhm.
how you expose it.
Communicate it, yeah, or express it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there any like advertising type fails you've done? Like you put it out there and you're like, oh, that did not do well.
I mean, there's been many cases like that. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have like said too much there. And sometimes that could be a problem too. We like say too much. And it's like just get to the point. That's something that I tell myself, get to the point. What are people getting? So yeah, so I do have those instances where I do feel that. So I have to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, what would be an exciting way to like express this in a different way? It's the same thing, but it's just being expressed in a different way.
It's so people have such a short attention span now, right? So you have
Yeah,
to catch them in less than 10 seconds or if they're just on to the next.
yeah, I agree. I mean, it happens to me too all the time. When I look at other people's like ad or advertisement,
And
I'm like,
what's sad is it's because of these. It's because of social
yeah,
media. It's because of the TikTok quick scroll videos. That is why we
oh
have that
yeah,
short attention span. And it's only worse in younger generations. So it's
mm-hmm.
not getting any better.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right. So the social media has evolved and changed, so we kind of have to adapt in a way. of these new tools, these new like social media tools, right? So, but yeah, for me, like, even for me, like, I think, and also because there's so much like overload of information, I would say. So sometimes we want to consume like all the information in like 1 minute, you know?
Get to the point.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
how my brain works. I'm like, oh, you're telling a story. Can we
Same
get to the
here.
end?
Yeah, but there's still like people who post on Facebook like these really long like book, messages. And I'm like, I have no time for this, I don't know, it's like that may have worked, before, but I just don't feel like it works anymore. And
People don't
I
read
don't know
them.
if it's just me, like
No.
because
People
I
don't
used
read
to,
them.
yeah, because I used to have like coaches and mentors tell me like, just share like this and that. I was like, but if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do it in a blog or maybe an article or my book. It's like I don't really need to
You
like
got to put
write
it in
an
a place
entire.
somebody would actually read it.
Yeah,
The only people
exactly.
that are reading those long messages on Facebook are boomers. Like, that's it. They're
Pretty
the only
much.
ones sitting there actually reading those posts.
Pretty much. I mean, because I have to agree that once I've seen some of those posts are like super long, right? I was like, no, 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 I don't have time for this, and it just goes. I go cross-eyed, and as I feel like my brain cells are already like burning.
Have you ever read one and you get to the bottom and it's some BS? It wasn't even like their post. It was like one of those ones that was like,
Yes,
repost this if blah, blah, blah.
I
I
have
have
seen
read.
those.
This is why I don't read them, is because I get to the bottom and that's there and I'm like, oh,
So
that's
what I
something
started
special.
what I started doing is that I start reading the bottom and see, okay, what's the point at the bottom here?
Same. I'm like, does this really have a point? Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm not gonna waste my time and energy. So if it has a point, I'll read the whole thing.
Yeah, you better catch me though. That's the
Hmm.
thing though. Like you have to catch people with that like
Yeah,
first sentence, that
it's
first key
true.
word.
It's so true.
Otherwise, we're just gonna keep going.
Yeah, because I was like on a call with some other group, right? And he was talking. This one guy was talking about his post because they got like thousands of view people. Like everybody was reading it. So we're like, well, let's look at your post and see what's making it so like eye catching, right? And so his catchphrase on there was the one that got the hook because he said something happened to him. I was like, oh my God, what happened to him? So of course that would get, people's attention. So that right there, if you get that hook on people, they will read it. And so
Yeah,
that's what I said to him. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
you gotta have that hook.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that
exactly.
where you do most of your marketing? Is like on social media?
Yeah, I started doing more social media and I started to get a little more creative. And that's what I mean, like getting more exciting about my content. So I do post like different things, like certain quotes sometimes. And sometimes I get inspired, like download of information and quotas. I have to put it like in a Canva or like create this really nice, image or something. And some of them have gone viral. Or I do like a full moon mantra that I just did recently that went viral like on TikTok a little bit. Like, so but people like, something that they can have like quick to look at that will make them feel, good in a way as well or be inspired. And so that's where I do bring in some inspirational messages in that way as well.
Do you run ads or do you just kind of use social media just as
No, I just use social media. I don't really think, for me, ads hasn't really worked as much. I've tried it, I think, one or twice or something like that, but I never really found it as like a good outcome. I think
I think
what
it,
has worked for me is just doing my own creative content, and that in itself goes viral by itself.
yeah, yeah, you can reach further, I feel like. And then I
Exactly.
think work better for products.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right.
Because people are
Yes.
like, ooh, I can buy that. They get something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be like Timu or something.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing worse than seeing something you like. Oh, that's cute. And then it's like you click on it and it's Timu and it's like,
Exactly. That's happened to me like a million times. Like, oh my god, that looks so cute. I was like, oh, it's Timu.
It's like, you know it's not going to look like that when you get it.
No, not at all. Whatever that dress, gonna be like a size Barbie size or something.
Doll size.
Exactly.
Oh man. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can go on rants about anything if you can't tell. So.
Yeah, no, I noticed. Well, me too, because I don't know. It's just one of those things, right? You see like so many ads, and like we could be talking about it. I'm sure your phone's picking up what is gonna, pop up on your screen right now.
Timu will be on there, don't you worry.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, I like to sometimes, show like funny memes as well. I'll find like really funny memes that other people create, and I'm wondering how do they create these videos? So I'm always looking for like new ways to like create content, right? I find like they grab like, clips from these different movies and they'll write something so creative as a headline. Like this one that I was just looking at, it comes from this movie like Robin Hood's Men in Tight. And there's this one scene where this lady is in her room and she's praying to God and say, "Please, God, send me my soulmate." And then like this guy comes through the ceiling and falls on her bed. And so somebody grabbed that clip and it was so creative. They put a headline, if you're like praying or asking for your soulmate but don't want to go through the dating, like and I was like, that's instant manifestation there. Like
You gotta start taking those and making a stitch.
right.
Easy. There you go. Repost.
Yeah, so I'm like, how do the people come up with these little clips and like, where are they getting these movie clips from? Like,
I'm
So
sure there's like some app that you can get them.
yeah, I'm sure there is. So I've been trying to find what that app is.
Just ask ChatGPT.
That's a good question. Yeah, a good point.
Like,
Yeah.
what tools can I use to pull video clips?
Yeah, ChatGPT though has gotten like, I kind of resisted it at first, like for some time, but then when I was like, well, I don't know what all the hype is, so I went and I tried it one time, and I was like, oh my god, it is actually, it is actually genius. Like,
Oh, it's so helpful. It's so helpful. If you're
yeah,
not
like
embracing it.
right, it's like having your own virtual assistant, pretty much, and so I've been kind of hooked on it now.
And it does more than you'll even need. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there's so many
exactly.
things.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
helps with
definitely.
content.
Very much. It does help, like, also if you feel like your cells are burnt out and you can't think, like, I know what I want to talk about, like this piece right here and that piece. It helps you organize your thoughts, in that way. And that's
Yeah.
what I liked about it. So,
Sometimes I just give it bulletin points. I'm like, turn this into something.
see, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
It's nice. It's a nice tool. Well, I know you're on a time crunch. So, is
Yes.
there any last message you want to leave? Maybe some spiritual thing that you want to
Yeah, I
share?
mean, I just want to say to everyone that, you're fully capable of so much more than, whatever situation you may be going, as messy as it may seem or overwhelming with all the changes and the chaos going on in the world, that you're fully capable of overcoming those situations. And just know that you are very much loved and are always surrounded by some loving guides. So, do talk to your own inner intuition and tap into your own heart and get those inner guidance message.
Thank you so much for coming on, talking about your business, going on a tangent on ads, and talking about social media. All my
Exactly.
favorite topics.
Great. Awesome.
I appreciate you coming on, and until next time, guys, bye.
Thank you so much for having me.